Well, it's exactly 36 minutes past the hour of 8. A warm welcome and thank you for being a part of Sunrise at Sea. My name is Shivan and welcome back from that breast cancer awareness conversation that Agi Uwase had together with Priva Elibas. Well, you are just in time for our views, and today we are talking about overthinking. Now, I chose this particular topic because now and again I find myself overthinking situations. Do not be deceived. Every single statement that usually I'm told goes through like four sieves. Like I sieve it, I take it to Central Intelligence, you know, IT decodes before I get to the root cause. But anyway, joining me at the center of this conversation are the ladies, and of course to my far left is none other than Agi Uwase, and then I have Priva Elibas. Ladies, today we are talking about overthinking. Now, before I pose any question, let me first of all start by defining what overthinking is, because then it's very important that the viewer also understands what we're talking about this morning. So overthinking involves thinking about a certain topic or situation, excessively analyzing it for long periods of time. When you overthink, you have had a hard time getting your mind to focus on anything else. It becomes consumed by the one thing that you are thinking about. So ladies, do you consider yourself someone who overthinks, or have you caught yourself in moments where you overthink something? It could be in a relationship, it could be at work. Your boss has told you something and now your mind is decoding messages, you know, you're talking to your girlfriend over the phone and you're overthinking a situation. So please let me know.
Well, I never used to consider myself an overthinker, but I realized that people around me, always say that, you know, I overanalyze the situation. So, you know, from a perspective of others, I'll take it that, yeah, actually I'm an overthinker.
I also think you do. in a good way, not in a bad way, in a good way.
Yes.
And I'll get into that later.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, I really like look into situations. Like I pay attention to both sides, and you know, like, okay, why is this happening? What would they, you know, feel if I did this? How would they feel? You know, like I put so much into the situation that I won't lie, I really overthink. That's for sure, I do. Yeah.
For me, I will say, I'm not sure if I'm still an overthinker. I used to be a heavy overthinker, I must say. But I just realized that over the time, overthinking actually doesn't bring about solutions. Sometimes you're so wrong about so many things. You could, you know, decide to, you could overthink a situation and end up making, you know, an impulsive decision that you could regret for the rest of your life. So overthinking for me, did put me at some point in a state of depression. I think it was like the year 2020. I always talk about it like that was the worst year.
Yeah, you almost died.
And yes, it was the longest. But when it got to like, when I got to realize that I'm actually overthinking things, I realized I was wrong about so many things. I was wrong about so many people. And if I could take back the hand of time, I would change that, because I lost some very important things in my life because of overthinking and because I was actually wrong about it. Yeah.
I want to just slightly add on to, you know, what Agi's saying. Surprisingly, when I overthink, my intuition is always right.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing.
It's always spot on. So if I don't have to overthink a situation, maybe you're actually like a good person, or whatever you're doing is something that will not be detrimental to me. But if I'm forced to overthink, my intuition never lies to me. Always. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. I overthink, but at the end of the day, what I overthink about turns out to be true. So I trust my intuition, if you could put it that way.
When it comes to the aspect of overthinking, I will definitely say now and again I have caught myself overthinking either situations or something someone is telling me, or even I do it myself subconsciously. For example, I notice that amongst my friends there are those who really want clarity. So even when I say, for example, I'm texting someone, I'm saying I'm heading back home, I might even send a picture of myself or maybe moving or in a street or something, not because they do not trust me, but because I know they're the sort of people that want clarity. And most times, like Priva has said, every single time that I have had to overthink a situation or a relationship or even a job offer, it has always ended up in flames, like the flames completely. So every single time I do not have to overthink a situation, then I know I'm on the right path, because then why would I be overthinking a relationship if someone, you know, is doing the right thing? Why would I be overthinking a friendship? Why would I be worried about who my friend is talking to if I know that she is a genuine friend? But ladies, how about, let's look at some of the causes of overthinking. What causes people to overthink? And before we even get into that, I realize that for very many people think that overthinking is a mental illness. Actually, it is not. Overthinking is not a mental illness. In fact, overthinking isn't recognized as a mental health condition, but it can be a symptom of depression and anxiety. And this is according to psychologists that are based in the United States. So please, ladies, what are some of the causes of overthinking?
Because maybe, how would I put it? We are second guessing our decisions. Yes, someone is presenting something to you, but then you're getting other mixed signals. So you're forced to, you know, really sit down and, you know, dissect what is before you. Is it the truth? Is it not the truth? Is it the right information? You know, like basically, I think that's the reason why many people, you know, overthink, because our decisions, we start second guessing them. We're not firm in them. But just like I said, even when you second guess, it's a chance for you to actually, you know, look at what you're going to do and make sure at the end of the day it's the right thing for you. So yeah. We second guess our decisions, and that's why, you know, we overthink. But then the other bit of, you know, overthinking could be that you don't have a solution at the moment.
You're not solution based.
Yes, you're not solution based. Yes, to put it that way. You're just, you know, thinking and thinking and thinking, but not coming, you know, to terms of saying, you know what, I need to find out a solution to my issue. So yeah, I would say those are the reasons as to why I overthink. Sometimes I think and think and think and forget that, hey, like, get it together. It's now time to, you know, figure out a solution. So yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's actually true that overthinking is not a mental health disorder. It's not a mental health issue, but it's actually a generalized anxiety disorder. There's people who battle with a lot of anxiety. I used to be that person at some point. Oh God, yeah, I used to be very anxious. Like I could wake up in the morning and I would be overthinking. I wouldn't even be overthinking like the day-to-day kind of things. I would be sure of, you know, how I'm going to survive probably the next, could even be 5 months. But after, you'll find I'm thinking about next year, or I'm thinking about 5 years down the road. Now that is really very terrible, if I should say, because I mean, the other day we're talking about live for today. You may never be sure of tomorrow, but if you find yourself in a situation, you're thinking of what is going to happen in the next 5 years, it's good to plan, but it's not good to overthink. But I do think that some people are overthinkers because they are perfectionists. There's people who want everything to be perfect in their life. They want the man they get married to should be a certain way. So they're always worried, what if I don't get the exact person I want? What will happen? You can imagine you're worried about that. You haven't even met the person. Or even you find you just want, if let's say it's your house, it's your home, you want it to be perfect, the perfect furniture, the perfect everything, and maybe you're not sure if you're going to get the money to afford that kind of, you know, lifestyle. It could literally be anything. And for other people, I think there are people who care too much.
Yes.
There's such a thing as caring too much. People who overcare
It's called toxic caring.
You find you care about people so much. It could be your family, it could be your friends. You know, you're calling your mother in the morning, you're like, Mommy, are you okay? In the evening, are you fine? It could be actually something that has happened, but because you care too much, you want to see your people well, you are that kind of person. So yeah, you find you're in a situation where you're overthinking. But then again, some people overthink due to their personal insecurities and past traumas. If you have been in a relationship where someone treated you like trash, where someone really didn't see your value or your worth, when they were walking all over you like a doormat, it's more likely that even when you get into another relationship, or when you meet this other person who is talking you into a relationship, it's more likely that you'll actually overthink the situation and like, how sure am I? What are the odds that they are a different person from the person that, you know, I dated before? If you have those past traumas from relationships, from family backgrounds, it's more likely that you'll always overthink situations and maybe think everyone is as bad. Yeah.
Okay, well, I was reading an article and I realized that when it comes to overthinking, sometimes we neglect the fact that it comes actually from early childhood. For example, if as a child you have grown up in a family where you have seen your father as a drunkard, and every single time he comes back home, he's beating your mom and then lashing out at you, or vice versa, because I don't want the men to keep saying I'm against them on the show. And if you find yourself in such a situation, and then you finally meet a man of your dreams, and he drinks, he's an alcoholic, and then you're overthinking and thinking this is the same way he's going to treat you, or you completely stay away from alcohol, or even people that take it because you are afraid that they are going to react a certain way towards you. But also in relation to that, there is something you mentioned. For some people, they just overthinking gives them a sort of control, because now, first of all, you don't have a solution, so you want to be helpless. You're there because, let me ask, when you overthink something and you're not working towards, whatever it is that you're thinking about, or whatever it is that is causing you stress and anxiety, what exactly are you solving? If it is a situation in your life, as we like to term them, situationships, walk up to the dude and ask him, dude, what's up? You're mixing my signals left, right, and center. Do you want north? Do you want west? Or don't you want? You get? So that you're not stressed and anxious. If it is a job, walk up straight to HR and find out these terms and conditions. I'm not comfortable with them. Can we agree or can we not disagree? So I think these are some of the things that are very important. Another question that, for example, if a viewer wanted to know this morning, what are some of the signs of an overthinker, someone who overthinks situations? How would you be able to tell the signs?
Okay, before we get into the signs,
Okay.
yes, I kind of remembered something. You did talk about, childhood playing a factor into, how people, overthink later on in life. But sometime back when we were discussing childhood innocence, we did hint on the fact that, yes, as we lose our innocence, we tend to, understand and realize that the world is not what it presents itself to be. Here you are in a world that is full of evil, and the evil just does not stop on, what people are doing, but people themselves can actually be evil. So sometimes you are forced to over-scrutinize situations because you don't know what someone else is thinking or what they have in the pipeline. I know it might sound strange that people actually do that, but I'm the kind of person that does that. So before you do something for me, I'll ask myself, okay, where did this come from?
Okay.
And then I really overthink. For example, you cannot send me packed food from your home and I'll eat it. I can't.
Oopsie daisy.
You understand? Like from anyone, I would love it, but I wouldn't eat it because I'm thinking, okay, what made you do this? What made you send me this and this? You understand? Why didn't you call me? Honestly, let me tell you, I once had I was talking to someone, and there was this we're just having a conversation, and she mentioned the story of how they had a relative coming from somewhere up country, and those village women, she came with roasted beef for the people here, and I'm thinking, okay, why would she do that for you guys? Couldn't she buy fresh meat somewhere, at a butcher somewhere else, instead of, at a butchery somewhere else, instead of bringing it all the way from up there? So sometimes you overthink because we are in an evil place.
Oh, we are just being superstitious.
Women and men, not even being superstitious. Generally, human beings are inherently evil. So sometimes, yes, you might be thinking you're overthinking, but you need to pay attention to that. I don't want to think that overthinking is completely a negative thing.
Yes, that's true.
I wouldn't want to think it's completely a negative thing, but the signs that you're overthinking is you have repetitive thoughts about the same thing without necessarily finding a solution. So if you find yourself thinking about the same thing, the same topic, the same thing, it's about time you spoke up.
Okay, well, so while still looking at some of the signs that you're overthinking, so if you're wondering whether you are overthinking a particular situation or concern, there are a few things that you can actually look out for, and these are some of the signs. Well, one is the inability to think about anything else. If you find yourself constantly fixated on that one thing, your mind cannot move, then just know that you're actually an overthinker. The next one is being unable to relax. Every time you're very anxious, you're very stressed. Every time that one phone call, I remember those days, there's that one phone call that would send me into mood, and I'm like, guys, what's up? Is Jesus Christ coming back? Is a tornado happening anytime soon? Until I learned, and I'm like, you know what? life is what it is, you know. We have to live on the bright side of life. Well, the next is constantly feeling worried or anxious, fixating on things outside your control, feeling mentally exhausted, having a lot of negative thoughts, replaying a situation or experience in your mind, second guessing your decisions, and thinking of all the worst case scenarios. Now, ladies, finally, as we wind up the conversation, what are some of the effects of overthinking situations? Both the good. Let's look at the good and bad as well. Let's look at the good, actually, because we have highlighted very many bad
negative things.
Thank you. And yet I feel like overthinking has helped you, especially when it comes to like getting to understand who a person is. If I have to overthink you for like more than a month, then there is a problem.
I will say, honestly, because some of this overthinking, you impose it on yourself as a person. You might meet someone along your way or your journey of life, and you have a certain perception of them. And then you find yourself in a situation where you are overthinking them, overthinking their intentions, overthinking their motives. But that is, I will say that is a personal problem as you as a person that's overthinking the situation, because chances are you might be wrong about so many things. But yes, some of the good things about overthinking, I will say, maybe it helps you make better decisions at the end of the day, because the moment you're overthinking something, you're more likely to actually analyze it before you make a decision. If, let's say, you're going to make a decision about a job, a decision about someone you're going to spend the rest of your life with, a decision about which school to go to. So when you overthink about things, you're more likely to make the right decision. But me, I will say, largely, overthinking is a bad thing. And if you cannot control a situation and you're overthinking about it and you have no solutions, especially something that you cannot find a solution to, and also something that is beyond your control, what advantage is in that? If you are overthinking about and replaying scenarios in your head, I remember there's a time in my life when I used to, well, yeah, like I mentioned, I used to be an overthinker. So you'd find I've had this conversation, especially people that I was interested in. It had to be that I have interest in you. And then I'm literally rethinking the whole conversation from the start. If, let's say, it was a date, from how, you know, we moved out of the car, to what food we ordered, to what conversation, every nitty-gritty of that encounter, I would have to be replaying it and asking myself, what didn't I do right? You can imagine that something is already in your past, but you're saying, oh my God, I wish I'd done this better. I wish I'd done this better. I think that's also a characteristic of people who always want perfect things, but that puts a lot of pressure on you as a human being. You don't want to live with a lot of anxiety, because that means that if you're going to encounter that person the next time, then you're going to be absolutely anxious. Now, you don't want anxiety in your life. It's not something good to live with. At the end of the day, it's actually a disorder. So overthinking brings about anxiety, brings about depression, and also it can make you make bad decisions as much as it can make you make good decisions, I will say.
I think she has mentioned pretty much everything. Really? Yeah, you really touched on pretty much everything. But I'd have to say, on the good side of overthinking, it helps you reflect. Some of us don't overthink because, you know, we just have nothing to do. Some of us have suffered huge blows in the past. Huge blows in the past that you refuse for that to happen again to you. So you have to sit down and think, okay, what past mistakes did I make? How was I able to, get out of this? Was there some victory? How did I get to this? How do I make sure I maintain that? So sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes you need to reflect and make sure you don't do the same mistakes that you suffered again, because it's not okay that you're experiencing the same thing and falling into the same trap, the same mistake time and time and time again. So reflect, analyze, the past mistakes you made, and make sure you do not do the same thing over and over again. And the only way you'll be able to do that is, overthinking. Think about, some of these situations so that you don't have to do them ever again. I think in the interest of time, I'll just say that.
When it comes to overthinking, I also want to think about it in the aspect, for example, argumentation. For example, you're making a decision, you have to make a decision, and you're taking your time to, let's say, think about it. At the end of the day, you want to come out and say, regardless of the consequences, first because of the decision you made, you'll say, I thought about it. Because I would rather overthink a situation than be wrong twice. However,
decision,
however, looking at some of the pros of overthinking, one, it delays the decision-making process, which may be a good thing. Overthinking means that instead of making a decision, you are still thinking about it and making sure it's a solid one that you want to stand for. The next is, the beauty about overthinking is then it requires research. And this one, I've seen it especially in scientists, you know, like when they're looking for that formula. I used to see these amazing children who are always good at math. Now, I'm not saying I'm not good at math, but like you'd see them fidgeting and trying to put X, Y, and even where Z wasn't there, it would somehow come in the answer. And you are like, yes, because they were doing their research, it enables them not to give up and make sure at the end of the day, they have a solution. Overthinking can be a good thing as long as it doesn't keep you in your comfort zone. That now, 1 month, you're thinking about whether to get married or not. 2 months, you're thinking about whether to get a career or not. 4 months, it's now becoming toxic. Overthinking helps when you're thinking about a situation and then finally you decide to act on it. And finally, it, like Priva had already mentioned, it gives a chance to people to reflect. And some of the cons, briefly, it creates uncertainty and doubt. Sometimes the uncertainty and doubt is uncalled for. You start to second guess someone. Get their intentions are pure, but again, it's not your fault, because hey, guess what? Some people acted like. Well, that winds up what I had for you this morning on our views. Keep watching Sunrise at Sea and don't think.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on Sunrise at Sea this morning. A beautiful Thursday, bright morning. There are no excuses because it's not raining and neither is it chilly. So you should be able to head to work if you have a job. And if you have no job, I hope that you are dropping those applications as much as you should. We are coming to the end of the year. When we are usually coming to the end of the year, that money is needed. The festive season is always festive when you have some money on you. So yes, do something about it if you can. I mean, get those connections, you know, those social settings where you can have as much connections as you can, take advantage of them. That is my advice for you today. However, we had great conversations today on Sunrise, and most importantly, we talked about Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is this month of October. So we have at least about 3 weeks until the end. So if you haven't been part of any campaign, if you haven't donated, and donating, we're not talking about 1 million or so. We're talking about as little money as you can, you know, to create as much awareness throughout the entire world, not just in Uganda. Be part of these campaigns. Dr. Samuel talked about a campaign that is going on in Kira municipality. So if you are a resident of that place, remember to take part in it, and it will be happening on Saturday. But I know there's so many others that will be happening, so at least be part of one of them. And also, let's try as much as we can or as possible to go for breast cancer checkups. And then also, if unfortunately you're diagnosed for breast cancer, you should be able to get the treatment in the early stages so that it doesn't become fatal, like we mentioned earlier on the Twitter jabs. But also, we winded up the show with a conversation on overthinking. For me, I'll tell you, overthinking, yes, has its advantages and disadvantages, but largely it has disadvantages that can also be fatal. That anxiety, that depression is not good for you. Mental health is very important. The doctor earlier talked about it because it's something that is disregarded in this country and elsewhere in the world. So let's be very, 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 very vigilant when it comes to it. Don't overthink situations, especially if you do not have any control over it. Just get over it and, you know, move on with your life. But anyway, have a good day. Catch you tomorrow, same time, same place.